Charlie Kirk grew up in a suburb of Chicago. He was born in 1993 in a place that felt far from the center of American power. From an early age, he showed a spark for debate and a keen interest in politics. He was not the kind of kid who just sat back and watched things happen. He wanted to be part of the conversation. In his school years, he joined clubs. He took part in community activities. He liked to stand up. He spoke his mind. He believed that ideas had the power to change the world. He felt many young people weren't hearing the full story about American principles. He felt they weren't hearing about economic freedom. This feeling stayed with him. As he got older, his desire to make a difference grew stronger. He saw a gap on college campuses. He believed conservative voices were often drowned out or silenced. He felt students were being taught only one side of the political spectrum. This conviction lit a fire in him. He decided he wouldn't wait for someone else to fix the problem. He would do it himself. Even before he was old enough to vote in a presidential election, he was already planning how to reshape the political landscape for his generation. He wanted to give young conservatives the tools and confidence to defend their beliefs. He spent his time reading. He spent his time studying. He spent his time honing his arguments. He learned to communicate complex ideas simply. He practiced public speaking. He learned to engage with people who disagreed with him. This period was like an apprenticeship. He was preparing for a much larger stage. He was building the foundation for his life's work. This drive culminated in a decision that would change his life forever. Instead of going to college in the traditional way, he chose a different path. He decided to dedicate himself full-time to his cause. In 2012, at the age of just 18, Charlie Kirk founded Turning Point USA. The organization began with a clear and focused mission. It aimed to educate students about the principles of free markets, limited government, individual liberty. Kirk started with very little. He had no large donors or established network. He had only his passion and a powerful belief in his message. He began traveling from one college campus to another, student centers, lecture halls, other campus venues. He spoke directly to students, handing out pamphlets, engaging in one-on-one conversations. The growth of Turning Point USA was remarkably fast. Kirk understood the power of social media. He used Facebook, he used Twitter. His posts were bold, provocative, designed to get a reaction. This strategy worked. It attracted a large following of young people who felt that their conservative views were not represented in mainstream culture. The organization began to build a national presence, establishing chapters on hundreds of college campuses, creating a network of student leaders who were trained to promote its message. The group became known for high-profile events and its confrontational style. It hosted debates, brought in well-known conservative speakers, created lists calling out what it saw as liberal bias in academia. Some people praised this approach. They viewed Kirk as a champion for free speech, intellectual diversity. However, the organization's methods also drew significant criticism, divisive, inflammatory. They argued the group sometimes oversimplified complex issues and engaged in personal attacks. Some critics felt its rhetoric contributed to a more polarized environment on campuses. Despite controversies, the organization continued to grow. It became an undeniable force in American youth politics, with Charlie Kirk as its unwavering and highly visible leader. As Turning Point USA grew, so did Charlie Kirk's personal profile. He transitioned from a campus activist to a prominent national figure in conservative media. He launched his own radio show and podcast, reaching a broader audience every day. He was a frequent guest on major news networks, where he debated political opponents and offered his perspective. A key part of his rise was his close alignment with the America First movement and its most prominent leader, Donald Trump. Kirk was an early and enthusiastic supporter of Trump's presidency. He saw in Trump a leader who would challenge the establishment and speak to everyday concerns. Kirk and Turning Point USA helped mobilize young voters and build support on campuses. In return, he gained access to power and a platform that amplified his message globally. Kirk's persona was direct and often confrontational. He did not shy away from controversial topics, culture, politics, race. To followers, he was brave, honest, unafraid to speak uncomfortable truths. To critics, his rhetoric was divisive and harmful. He became a lightning rod for controversy, inspiring intense loyalty and fierce opposition. On the morning of September 10, 2025, Charlie Kirk was in Orem, Utah. He was scheduled to speak at Utah Valley University as part of his American Comeback Tour. It drew students, community members, supporters, and curious onlookers. The atmosphere was charged. He took the stage, touching on politics, freedom, the state of the nation. He was in a question and answer session, discussing the contentious topic of mass shootings. The crowd was listening intently. In that instant, the normal rhythm was violently shattered. A single, sharp sound cut through the auditorium. A gunman had opened fire. In the midst of the public debate, Charlie Kirk was struck by a bullet, hit in the neck. Panic swept the audience as security rushed the stage and responders arrived. Doctors and surgeons fought to save his life, but the gunshot had been fatal. A short time later, he was pronounced dead. The news spread like wildfire. The assassination triggered a massive response. Utah Valley University was secured. A manhunt began. Local, state, and the FBI. An individual was taken into custody but later released after questioning. Authorities released photos and asked the public for tips. The suspect's father recognized his son, Tyler James Robinson, 22, and contacted authorities. Investigators tracked movements. He arrived that morning in a gray Dodge Challenger. On September 12th, he surrendered and was taken into custody without incident. He was charged with murder on September 16th. Prosecutors said they would seek the death penalty, alleging a political motive. Officials said Robinson tracked Kirk's appearances, studied campus maps, and appeared radicalized in online echo chambers. Leaders condemned the attack. President Trump ordered flags at half-staff and called for unity. Erica Kirk vowed his work would not die. Turning Point USA would continue its mission. Charlie Kirk's life was one of rapid ascent and profound impact, and his death left a complicated legacy. To millions, he was a hero, a visionary, empowering young conservatives and reigniting American principles. To critics, he was polarizing, his rhetoric coarsening discourse and deepening divides. The assassination forced difficult questions about the line between passionate debate and dangerous incitement. Many asked if our language had grown too heated, too personal, too dehumanizing. It was a horrifying reminder that extreme animosity can create fertile ground for violence. Calls grew for greater security and for lowering the temperature of our politics. The nation must learn to talk to each other again before another voice is silenced forever.